Eve Nation, happy Thursday. Thursday is my public facing day, so it's been non-stop interviews and hangouts and podcasts. Started the day with the Insiders Reader Group. So, hey, if you bought any of my books, we have a Facebook group just for readers that you should get in on because it's free, and I go live there once a month to be able to come in and give value. So just FYI, if you're not in there, that was a fun session this morning. Let me see, I see Alan here. Let's bring in Alan. See how we can bring some value. Happy Thursday. Let's help some entrepreneurs. Oh my goodness. Look at the setup.
What's up? What's happening?
Wait, is this an episode of your podcast too?
So, yeah, we might repurpose it.
Okay, good. Go for it.
Can you hear us okay, F?
It's not great, but it's okay.
Because you're 10 feet away from us, probably. Okay.
No. Because, yeah, your camera is 10 feet away from you.
Well, we're on the phone, so it's a whole thing, man.
But we've got the audio going through our mixer, and we've got you on Audacity, so we.
You need a double mic. Like I used to do this. So was that if you watch my old Instagram videos, I did an IG live show every day at my dance studio in Toronto, and we just got a mic on Amazon, whatever, that hooks into the phone, and then you double clip. So you use that for your podcast, and then you clip yourself up to a split microphone that goes into the phone.
Oh, we actually have one of those somewhere. I don't think we have it with us, but we do have them.
We'll do that. We'll do that in the future for sure.
All right.
You want to start? You can hammer.
All right. So the first question I want to ask you, first of all, thank you so much for doing this.
Yes, we appreciate you.
Thank you. The first question I want to ask you is: there's a lot of people. So I was coaching a young kid and his little sister, which was interesting. A 7-year-old and 11-year-old. Kevin and I did a speech for some young middle school kids. And we gave a free call out, and I asked them what they want to do when they grow up, and one of them said they wanted to be a YouTuber, and the other one said they wanted to be in esports. What do you find to be the most common misunderstanding about YouTube and being a YouTuber now that you're farther along on the journey? You see a lot of people who want to be a YouTuber. What are the most common misunderstandings?
So are we doing an interview or is this a coaching session?
Coaching.
Okay, so that doesn't help you.
I mean, it kind of does. We're fairly early.
How?
We suck at YouTube.
Yeah.
Okay, so make it about you then.
Okay.
What's the question I can answer for you?
All right. What are the mistakes Kevin and I are making on YouTube from your perspective?
So, I mean, when we sat down in Florida a year ago now, right? Over a year. When was that? That was
almost a year and a week. Yeah, year and a week.
That's crazy. I gave you a bunch of feedback. How did we, the cartoons are still there. What else? How did we apply?
No, there's no more cartoons.
Are they not there? Well, what's behind you right now? I see the cartoons.
Well, that's because we haven't redone our avatar yet. That's in the works, though.
That is in the works.
Intro, you basically said, actually, you reached out to me and you said something.
Guys, it's been a year.
No,
how much time do we need to fix our logo?
That's a good point. This is good. Kevin knew this was going to be.
Yeah, that's why.
I'll go to the gym next year, guys. Come on.
That's a great point. Okay, so we did fix the intro. What other mistakes are we making?
I don't know what else did I tell you. I don't remember what I told you on the.
You said the intro is way too long. Get rid of the cartoons. We got rid of them. Intro's 15 seconds now. We're using TubeBuddy. We have end screens. We have the middle screens. Definitely haven't done as much A/B testing as I'm sure you would recommend or do. I'm
going to go to my computer. And I better be.
All the new thumbnails. All the thumbnails are new.
Yeah, give it to us. We're ready. We're ready for the feedback.
I better be impressed with the progress. I want to be impressed with.
We're open.
With 1 full year of progress. What can these guys do in 1 year? That's a nervous laugh. Hyper conscious, Jesus. I mean, okay, the name is also not great, but.
I know. We're married to it though, Evan.
Hyper-conscious.
Since people are married to their crappy diets too, and then what?
That's valid.
Okay,
so
this is it, right? Right here?
Yeah.
Can you see that? Okay, so yeah, we definitely need to fix this. Your logo still has to be fixed. Okay. At the top banner too. Can we see this? Yeah, okay. It's backwards, but that's fine. We can see this. Okay. And then okay, so here we got some thumbnails.
We pinned you as the top video.
I mean, that's great. That's good. I like it. Okay, so this is your most recent video, Afraid of Networking, right?
Yes.
Yep.
All right, so let's see. Can we hear it? Hold on, let me get some volume on this. YouTube coach, now let's go. Okay, already, like, not this. We need,
New intro.
no, like highlights, like what's happening here. Why you are afraid of networking? Whatever happens in here. So you had the little chapters or whatever. I forget what these things are called. The little things at the bottom.
Yeah.
But the best moments from here. Look at your retention. When we looked at your retention, this is why we said you got to fix your intro, because we looked at your retention on your graphs and it was a disaster, right? Like I forget what we're at 1 minute, but it was super poor.
It wasn't good.
Right. But you guys have great conversations. You have great guests and everything else, right? So the problem is people never get into the meat of anything because they don't give you a chance out of the gate.
Okay.
So
what would you do?
Highlights. Like not this, because this is going to be the same thing on every single video too, right?
Right. Yeah.
You just throw it in the beginning. No, highlights.
So,
like what?
So like 15 seconds of you dropping knowledge, the most impactful 15, 20
Yeah,
seconds.
Yeah, the best part. Or
Okay.
whatever happens here, you guys are going to talk for 23 minutes about networking. I'm sure there's something good that happens in here.
I sure hope so.
Well, I mean, but somewhere in here, you know, at the 9 minute mark where you drop some fire, you clip those and put that at the beginning to make me want to watch.
Okay. Fire.
Either that, or you have to intro it yourself. Like, why is networking such a big deal, and what you're going to solve on this episode.
So would you get rid of the branding opening completely?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, especially at the beginning. Like you can add a little bit of it after the coming ups, but you have to lead with something that's going to make me want to watch it, not just a commercial.
Okay. All right. That'll be we'll do that.
This is also this it's too slow. Like,
Okay.
yeah, if you're gonna do this kind of stuff, and then if you're gonna have like the background needs to be like mountains or people running or just something to hold the attention more than just
Blue.
text. Yeah, blue, or just don't do it.
I know. I think we're not going to do it.
Perfect, great, done. Hey, sometimes the best thing is just eliminate.
Right?
Yeah.
Gentlemen, welcome back to another very special.
Okay, see, that definitely had less energy than our last interview.
Oh no! Come on.
It did. Did you hear
That
that?
was I think that was my third one of the day. I mean, that's probably why.
I
Listen,
like this.
we're
This is
not-
good.
We're not.
This is like the Shark Tank, Evan. Let's rock.
We're not in the excuse business, dude.
No.
Oh my God, whatever you do. I don't want to turn you off. Okay, I'll just close it. I'll load it up again. Yeah, whatever. You did 3 on the day, dude. You're fine.
I know. I'm just teasing.
I'm gonna find it again. Hyper. Yeah, I mean the name is. Why did you pick Hyper Conscious Podcast, anyways?
Because when I was, it's a whole thing. It's a long story, but for most of my life, Evan, I lived unconscious, and the opposite of unconscious is hyperconscious. So that's why we went with it.
It's just so heady. I honestly didn't even remember. I've been on twice, and I know you guys, and I love you guys. And I'm sitting down to do our show. I'm about to go live, and I'm blanking on the name of your show.
Yeah.
And I went to Alan's profile to go look up. I didn't know who was going to join, but whatever. And I went to Alan's profile, and it said, the podcast. Oh, yeah, that's what it's called. This is a problem for me. Like, dude, listen, my book, Built to Serve, okay? The original title for this was supposed to be Who, Why, How. Because I walk people through the process of who, why, how.
Right.
And my publisher loved it, and my agent loved it, and it's like, hey, we're going with Who, Why, How. And then I printed the book and gave it to 30 people around me, and I asked my agent, you know, I was giving her feedback. She's like, yeah, it's so great. I love that book. You know, it's going to be so good, especially, you know, who, why, when. It's like, no, wait, hold on. It's not who, I, when. It's who, I, how. Like, yeah, who, I, how.
but then she can never remember it because we got the like who, why, where, when, how, and why, right? Like
Right.
that's what we.
Who, what, when,
so
where, why, yeah.
if people couldn't remember what the three were. They just remembered they were three things, but they couldn't. It's like, oh, okay. If my own agent can't remember the name of the book, we
Right.
need a new name, right? So, yeah, I think you need a new name. We need a new name.
Feedback. Keep
Yeah.
it up, Bev. Anything else jumping off the page?
Okay, I need to load this video again.
And
Here
just
we go.
reiterate this. We have to implement. It's not mean we have to implement. It's just people on every page.
Well, as always,
Okay, now.
ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. Now, this is why I wanted to rewind. To watch, to listen to the energy on the ladies and gentlemen. Okay, here we go.
Welcome back to
Hold on, I'll get
another.
it back
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another very special.
That's like a
as
7
always, episode.
or 6. I don't know. That's lower energy for sure compared to what we had. Okay, then what do you
Podcast.
say?
We hope you enjoyed our latest episode when we
More
sat
coffee
down for
before
live
before.
mastermind with one Karen Christensen.
No, just more like
Yeah.
this is important. Not just episode 448, but this topic matters. Then the energy just comes.
Get the energy back. For episode number 448, we are going to talk
Okay, why are you guys even doing a podcast? Like, what's behind this? What's the story?
We want to help people make better decisions by becoming more aware.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, like a lot of people, Alan and I found early success. We were both six-figure earners, and I ended up on the edge of a hotel bed suicidal because I didn't know why I was doing what I was doing, and I wasn't aware of personal development. I wasn't aware of habits, of finance, of self-talk, of confidence. So we're trying to inspire people. I want to be the light. I want to be the beacon for people who don't know what they want to do, and they don't think they can do it, and they don't believe it.
So you were making 6 figures and were suicidal
Yes.
because you were doing the wrong thing? Like, what was the business?
I was a construction foreman, so we traveled up and down the East Coast. I literally was on the road for 10 months out of the year, like not nice hotels, like Red Roof Inn to Red Roof Inn. And I didn't go to college. So at 26, I'm making 6 figures and making more than any of my friends. And I felt trapped because I didn't know what else I was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like now I very much subscribe to the, like, if you don't want to go to college, fine. But our goal is to give you like the education you need to succeed at life. Not necessarily a job, but like I want you to succeed at health, at wealth, and at love. And I don't think many people teach all those things. So that's kind of, we want it all to be like under the roof of this. That's what hyperconscious is. Like understanding this topic at the deepest level.
Okay. And then what's the business model for you guys?
So we have like a pretty intense funnel.
Okay.
When you say what's the business model, you want to know each tier of the. So you've got both of our social media, which
Okay.
and then any other front-facing media that we have, where we go on other shows, things like that, speeches, all that. Then the next level is we have Hyperconscious Nation. It's a private Facebook group. We have the podcast. We also have weekly masterminds that we do every Monday, where
So
people come and
what's the
join us on
biggest?
Zoom.
I don't know if you know numbers in a public setting, but like, what's the biggest revenue source for you right now? It's not Kevin doing construction.
One-on-one coaching.
One-on-one coaching?
One-on-one coaching. Yep.
And that's life coaching. That's fitness coaching.
So
what's the majority?
For me, it's business consulting, helping people like you are doing for us right now,
Okay.
but with business owners. Kevin's is a podcast agency, so he helps people start and grow their show. And he has a do it for model where like he does the teaser clips, he uploads the episodes, like his business does all that. So that all they have to do is show up on the mic and actually record.
You guys are all over the place. Okay, so how does that tie into Hyperconscious Podcast?
Right. So you're noticing already a interesting thing that we've run into because the ideal client avatar, the primary listener, is different than both of our main source of revenue right now.
Very different.
And that's what's jumping off the page for you right now. So I have my own business consulting firm. He has his own podcast agency, and then we've got the Hyperconscious Podcast. But the listeners of the Hyperconscious Podcast, just so you're aware, are women in their 20s and 30s struggling with courage, clarity, and confidence, who want more fulfillment out of their career and their intimate relationships. And they very much struggle with consistency. What I'm finding is my ideal client for my business consulting is business owners that are much farther along in their journey than most of our listeners. So I'm having to do lead gen outside, and so is he, of the actual show. And so you're probably noticing that right now. We haven't figured out how to really reconcile that, but we're working on it for sure.
Well, do you want to make a business from young women who are struggling with courage, confidence, and whatever the third C was?
Yeah. I think that we have a very unique opportunity because, without sounding arrogant, whatever, Alan and I are kind of different than a lot of other people in the space, but we're vulnerable men who don't necessarily look like men who would be vulnerable. And I think we've attracted a lot of women because we're talking about things that they want to hear from men. So I think that we have a very unique space that we can definitely help.
And it's called hyperconscious, which no man would ever go and listen to because we're not smart enough to understand what that means.
Evan, it's interesting because we've kind of been authentic on the show and just kind of leveling up in our own life and learning and growing. And then who we've attracted is not what we anticipated, but we've kind of leaned into kind of who we aspire to be. And that's sort of happened organically. We just took your advice and said, okay, let's scratch our own itches. Let's talk about what we want to talk about, and let's see who that attracts. And it's been primarily probably 80 to 90% female.
Yeah.
So what can we do with that? How do we turn that into a business?
I think we can do better with, and Alan and I have talked about this before, like we've never really done any hyper-conscious business. Like we've co-hosted live events, but when it comes to like online, digital, coaching, anything where we can monetize directly through the business as a 50-50 split into the business, we haven't really done that because I don't always know what the product would be. An online training course we could do, but I think that, as you know, early in the entrepreneurial game, you got to make money. So Alan knows a ton about business. I know so much about podcasting now because we've done it, that we leaned into where we had the credibility to monetize.
And how much business do you talk about on the podcast?
More now than we ever have.
Yeah. We've done a few live masterminds about selling with integrity, about marketing, different strategies. Not as much, but we're starting to, which is interesting because as we elevate in our understanding, our listeners elevate with us. But I think we should try to lean more into helping early entrepreneurs as well, since that's what we're doing on the side. But I don't know. We're trying to figure that out right now, for sure. One thing that all my clients, my one-on-one clients, which is the main source of revenue from my standpoint, is early entrepreneurs that are very early. And the price that I can charge is a lot lower, in my opinion, than some of, I can help manage and consult with teams that have more established businesses. But I want everything we do to be part of the hyper-conscious mission. And so it's difficult, I think, because we're making money over here to then fill into the Hyperconscious podcast to then kind of go back over here and make money, but they don't feed each other.
Yeah.
And same with him as well. But most of his clients have come from like getting on other shows and then them realizing like, wow, I need help. And the podcasting side of things, I think, is something we're pretty
So
good
who's
at.
hiring you on the business side? Like what kind of people? So further along, but what are you going in and helping them with?
For me, it's primarily people who want to be more consistent and dial in their habits. I was originally coaching, now I'm business consulting because they're early entrepreneurs. So imagine, I mean, you know this. So someone who like has this idea for starting a business, but they're very, very early. They're kind of in the transition from their old life into their new one, so they don't have a ton of cash flow yet. That's who's hired me up till now because my prices are at that price point.
Okay.
I want to transition out of that and start managing full teams the way we manage the Hyperconscious team. And
so you haven't done that yet?
I haven't done that yet. I'm in that transition right now. And then Kevin is mostly podcast hosts who basically left their old job with cash flow to start a show and don't have the time to do all the back end work that he does all the technical.
It's the CEOs, it's the entrepreneurs, it's the business men and women who like say, hey, I want a show, but I don't want to learn how to edit. I don't know how to do teaser clips. I'm not going to do show notes. I want help getting on other shows. Like we have a done for you model that takes care of all that, so they can just do what they're in their genius zone and what makes them money.
I think everything you guys have been through, I mean, I don't know Alan's backstory, but in his detail, but everything you've been through is the stuff that you can teach and then guide people through. And for those who end up having success or come from a place of having money to charge more money too. It could be a done for you service, but it's just all got, you guys got to figure out first, you need a new name. And then under that, what does the hyper-conscious business look like that you're going to help people create, where it's all mushed into one? And if Alan's going to do operations or like strategy, and Kevin's going to do operations, great. But for this to work, it has to be it's got a funnel. It's got to lead up. It's all got to be part of the same thing. And it does. It's just how it's being presented doesn't really make sense.
Right.
Because you're living the life. You're living the hyper-conscious life.
Right.
You left the crappy life to now start this thing, and now you can teach other people how to do it too. And some people want to go through it and then create their own podcast. And in the coaching, they realize that they have their voice and they want to create their own show. And this is their bridge out of corporate life that they hate. Great.
Right.
You can help with that. Everything that you learn and you continue to get better at, you can continue to teach. And maybe you still do. You can still do fitness stuff too, because you guys know what you're doing on that side as well. But it's all got to feed. It's like, you need a new name, and then you got to create the brand of what it means underneath it. What's that lifestyle? Like, what's the hyper-conscious lifestyle?
I think it's like holistic. It's health, which is physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. It's wealth, which is how you make your money, how much you make, and then where you invest it. And then it's love, friends, family, intimate relationship, colleagues, clients, mentors, mentees, like those three main buckets. It's holistic. It's a very holistic thing, but we also need to niche a little too, so I understand.
And it's intentional. It's like, a lot of people can teach you about habits. Okay, we're going to teach you about habits. We're going to teach you about like certain financial things. We're going to teach you about love and the 5 love languages and the systems that we have. So I think it's how to become the best version of yourself. And that's the problem, is that's not niche, because it involves so many things. But I don't know, because that we do live this life, like you said, every day for us is this and getting better.
Yeah, I think you got to figure out, like, think about somebody who's got, think about a guest that you've had on that already has a successful business, right? They've already made it. They wanted more. What are you going to help them with? What could you help them with?
I mean, I could help them with a podcast if they don't have one already.
I could help them manage their team virtually. We manage a team virtually, and I have a back-end system that I can help them deploy. It's called PPT, Peak Performance Tracking, and I track productivity for our entire team, and I give a weekly report. But it's not just productivity for the business, it's their own self-care, it's their own meditation, it's their own fitness. So it's holistic. And I can help
But
people
think like Dave Meltzer,
right.
your mentor, the other guy on this podcast,
Yeah.
who got top billing. Dave, I love Dave. What are you going to help Dave with?
I was going to say, for me, it would be the podcast. Like, Evan, if you ever want to start a podcast and you don't want to do any of the work, just know all you do is drop it in a folder, and I take care of everything else for you. Now, he already has a podcast, so he doesn't have to worry about that. But that's what I would offer to a Dave, and Evan Carmichael, and Dean Graziosi, and Ed Milet, like high-level podcast where you don't have to worry about anything. That's my thing. That's like, but I think the thing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we have any monetization points in the business. So Alan's consulting and my podcast coaching are in no way connected.
I mean, they have been, because those are feeding the hyperconscious podcast.
Right.
But I know what you're saying. We're not monetizing the listener base.
Right.
Yeah.
That as well. It's almost like we're going over here to make money to then
So we can
feed the
reinvest more into the
But
business.
that's
I got-
not receiving.
Dude, same thing. Like when I went to Puerto Rico earlier this year and was with Brendan Burchard and Dean Gracios and Tom Beale and all those guys, I'm not going to go teach belief or
Right.
habits or mindset, because they all
What did
teach
you
it
teach?
too.
Right.
YouTube,
Right. Okay.
because I'll
So-
crush them on YouTube, right?
Right.
And same thing, like Brendan and Dean and those, they're not teaching habits and mindfulness. Like, they're great at it, and that's what they teach. But it's what everybody in the room teaches.
Mm.
So
I see.
they were talking about their book funnels,
Right.
right? It's just like, what are you so elite, badass, dangerous at that you'll
Right.
want? Like, I would want you to be able to walk into Dave's team and show them all the things they're doing wrong, because I could do that on his YouTube channel.
Right.
So I think you split up. Like I think you're gonna have a hard time going to successful, established business owners who can pay you
Right.
to teach them how to manage their team.
It's a great point. Okay, well, so Evan, if I were to get on the phone with you and I were to ask you, like, how many people do you have on your team? And then you were to take me through, I said, okay, how do you manage your team? How do you know they're focused on the top leverage points? And then I could show you how to make sure that everyone's rowing in the same direction, everyone knows their main focus, and, like, there's a way you can report to make sure everyone understands their own bottlenecks so that they're not only productive, but they're also fulfilled. And I would have to share my screen and show you all this. But I do think that when it comes to managing a team virtually, I do feel like I could come to you, Evan, genuinely. You and I sit down in a room and I say, give me 30 minutes of your time. Let me show you what I do with the Hyperconscious team. And then I could show you what we do. And then I could say, here's what I'll do for you. I'll take your entire team and I'll coach the whole team. I'll track all their numbers and I'll make sure they're all high performing. And where they're not, I'll coach them and train them on the parts of their bottlenecks. And so you don't have to deal with any of the training. I'll do all the training and I'll track their numbers and I'll make sure they're all performing at high levels. And I'll show you how that's drawing revenue to the business.
Then your homework is to go pitch Dave and sell him on it.
Fire.
But this is the thing. Like I think you're right now average, both of you, at the service.
Right.
And I think you could get much better.
Right.
And I think what Kevin's side is easier to digest than your side.
Yeah.
And it's less insight because immediately Dave's going to think, this guy's not going to teach me how to manage my team. I've been managing a team forever. Now we're just doing it online. Okay, maybe tools, maybe technology, but he's not going to teach. That's what you have to overcome.
I know, 100%.
I'm not saying that you can't, but that's what you got to overcome. That's
Right.
when people will actually start to pay you.
Right.
Otherwise, you get stuck in the low, like, I can't afford $20 an hour, right?
Right.
On Kevin's side, there's a lot of people who want to get into it, who have money, who want to be a name, who don't know how to do podcasting and don't want to know how to do podcasting and will pay for it. But I want him to get even better so that he could go into Dave's team, who's got a good podcast, but he's not top 100. And that's what I want Kevin to be able to come in and say, hey, here's all the holes in your podcast strategy. And here's how I can fix it, right? You're not at that level yet, but you could be if you want.
Right.
What I'd love you to do is so I don't know, Alan, on your side, right? Maybe that's it. So the homework, go pitch Dave. I think you're going to have a really hard time on the credibility side because, okay, you've done it with your team, but you haven't done it with other people yet. And that's part of just building up that credibility.
So I've done it with 10 clients, but not a whole team. Yeah, and yes, I'm with you, but just so you're aware.
Like,
yeah.
That's what I want.
Right.
That's what I want you to get. You have to get Dave Meltzer kind of clients.
Right. 100%.
So you got to think, what can we bring that's of crazy value to
Someone like
Dave Meltzer?
Right.
Where he's going to listen to us, see us as credible experts, and trust us to run with it, and pay us $3,000 a month to do it for them.
Right.
Otherwise, you're stuck in
100%.
low-level zone, right? They might hire you to be a personal trainer, but there's lots of personal trainers. I mean,
Right.
It could be a different model, great. But I think they're going to look at you and say, you can't do this. Like, they're not going to spend 30 minutes to talk to you about it.
Right.
But the podcast, potentially, you just got to get better at it, right?
It's been good. It's been like I have clients that pay me $2,000 a month, so I'm very. But I think to your point, like
No, but
Dave
you got to
Meltzer-
be like, you got to be the best. Dave
Right.
Meltzer
Right.
needs to hire you,
Right.
or come to you and say, what are we doing wrong, Kevin?
Right. Just like we're doing here.
So
Yeah,
how do we
and-
brand ourselves that way? In terms of a digital front-facing part, what have you seen?
I'll tell you. No. So you have two models now, right?
Okay.
You've got the public-facing model, which is going to be new named, hyper-conscious, whatever. That is all the three things that you talked about health, wealth, and love. Awesome. You know, you got to dump the name and get something better. Like, we got to move forward and make this awesome. That's going to be you're smiling. This has to change.
It's painful. It's painful.
You're fine. This is like when your clients in the gym say, Kevin, but it's painful. Great. So quit.
No, never quit. Never quit.
And then that model is going to be as you continue to build your brand and get smarter, that model's going to get you book deals, speaking gigs, TV shows. Like, you become the face of this new, yet to be identified movement, right? That you've got kind of branding around, but like there's no big idea yet because of the hyper-conscious name, right? But new name that's going to make big waves, that you're going to have very clear defined shows on your podcast and YouTube and social media, that you're not going to make coaching money off of it, because the people who are listening, most of them won't be able to afford to hire you. That's okay. You're going to make money off of advertising, and then speaking, books, brand deals, you building up your credibility.
Yeah.
How are you going to make money in the short is off of super high-end consulting work, which the easiest path that I see is the podcasting. But you got to get better at it.
Right.
And how you do that is you bring on guests, and that's your deal flow. The people who come on your show,
Right.
you then show them how they need to have a podcast. And it's not it's not a pitch.
Right.
But listen, every time I'm on, this is what happened with Dean Gracias. He came on my channel a year and a half ago, and I interviewed him for my IG Live that became a YouTube video. I'm like, dude, what are you doing on YouTube? It's like, I don't know. We're figuring it out. We're still like, dude, you got to be on YouTube. And I pushed him hard on YouTube. Like, someone like him needs to be on YouTube and needs to be crushing it. That's what you should be doing.
Right.
So then when I went to Arizona the next year, I met him in Arizona and started pushing him. And then that's how I got invited to do all this other stuff, right? So your guests, if you genuinely feel that they should be doing a podcast, some people will say no. Some people don't have the time, or like, yes, I get it. They're going to pay you to do it to free up their time, but it's like it's not part of their mind space right now. That's fine. But if you sign up 1 out of every 5 of your guests to be a client that's paying you $3,000 a month to do their podcasts, now you've got your business that funds the front-facing brand.
Right. Okay. Right.
And
That's
you have to figure out, like, on your own side how you merge that, because
Yeah.
you've separated it. So like, okay, Kevin's here and Alan's here. The other way, Alan's here and Kevin's here. It's a joint business.
I know.
So if Alan is doing most of the front-facing brand building work that in 3 years is going to get you a book deal and 100K speaking gigs,
Right.
Kevin's doing the work now to, like, that's a high-end service that you could have I did this with Jeremy on my team, who does YouTube consulting as a business, right? From being a grocery store clerk to 12 months later making 6 figures in his first year from a grocery store clerk, to now he's hitting up at 30,000 a month. It's like a year and a half into the business, 30K a month doing YouTube consulting business, right? But there's a cap, there's a ceiling, like, of how much he can do. He can have another assistant, but that business caps out. Like, that's hard to turn into $1 million a year business.
Okay.
It's just hard.
So you need long-term plus the short-term. That's what you're talking about. Short-term profitability.
Yeah, like, you're
combined
building a
with
brand.
Long-term brand.
You need a. That's why the name matters, because nobody remembers hyperconscious.
Mm.
You need a brand that people are going to get behind, but you can go broke trying to build a brand.
Right.
So Alan's in charge of the brand and the long-term vision. Unless you prove me wrong and go get Dave to sign up for your team building thing, great, or something else,
Right.
whatever.
Right.
I would love to be proved wrong. I come back and say, hey, Evan, look at this. 5K a month from Meltzer in your face. Awesome.
Yeah. Exactly.
I love that. I'm happy to keep my words. But in my head, Alan's in charge of the brand, building it up, and Kevin's in charge of doing the work on the podcasting side. And now when you're bringing people on, it's people who
Right.
you also think have a good story, but also should be in the podcasting business.
Right.
And if that becomes a $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 a year business for you, that funds
The
your
brand.
time, your
Right.
team, and the brand building that you're doing to build the new company.
Wow.
You're shaking the snow globe at me. I
Oh,
like
sure.
it. Let's rock.
We needed this, Evan. We
Yeah.
appreciate this so
What-
very much.
And what are we doing here? And next time, don't lead with about high school kids. What I don't even know what that question was.
Well, Evan, I didn't. I mean, that's normally what we do when we're on the public facing. But this is cool. This is good. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So if we're doing this in 2 weeks, is that what's happening here?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
Would love to.
You need to figure out in 2 weeks what the new name is, how your like heart, health, wealth, like all kind of feeds into that.
Right.
You got to figure out the new logo,
Right.
and you got to figure out how you're going to make the finances work between you. That you don't have two separate things, and then this kind of orphan sitting here on its own.
Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right. So anyone watching, that's that's a lot of feedback in a very short amount of time. It's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Evan. Appreciate it, man.
Make that happen.
It'll
2
happen.
weeks.
It'll
All right.
happen.
All right. Talk to you in 2 weeks.
All right. Much love,
All right.
guys. Ciao.
Thank you.
Talk soon.